Welcome again to wealthdoctors.us. I'm Dr. Stephanie Ardrey.
And I'm Dr. Andrea Le.
Today, we're going to introduce you to our program again. We're going to pick up where we left off last week. Andrea, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's sunshine here in Southern California, and the weather is a little bit chilly, but it's nice here. Welcome back
Exactly.
from Jamaica.
I know it's so hard getting reacclimated with the time zone and all of those things, so trying to catch up. But why don't we go ahead and tell our listeners a little bit more about our backgrounds, share with them who we are and why we decided to discuss and create this topic around wealth creation for women.
Thank you. As a pharmacy doctor, and I'm also a retirement planner, and as a regional marketing director at First Financial Security, I am really passionate about helping everyone to achieve your financial freedom and generational wealth, and also bringing financial literacy and education to the public.
Yeah, it's been my passion. I kind of sometimes consider myself the entrepreneurial whisperer, right? I've always been interested in, building companies and what the ingredients are to build a sustainable organization. I remember I used to play business as a kid, and all I wanted to do was be an international businesswoman. So my background, I have a Doctor of Business Administration degree with an emphasis on international business. And I also have a Doctor of Law, a Juris Doctorate degree. And so I combine both my business and my legal background with really, I'd say, my many years of business experience. And so I help entrepreneurs create generational wealth, looking at business, at real estate, at emerging industries globally. And some of the key markets are real estate and agriculture. Farming is big, guys, as well as hospitality and others.
It's
So
very
I'm
important.
excited. I'm excited about this week because last week we told them we were going to come back. It's the beginning of the year. We were going to talk about the state of the economy. And I know you and I have been, and you've been doing a lot of, reflecting on what's happening. So tell us a little bit, what do you see? What's the state of the economy as predicted for this coming year?
I was thinking about more like personal economy, my own personal economy, and what can I do to improve it. Things that matters to us the most, like our family, our finances, our legacy. How do we, use our finances to all the things that matter the most to help us improve in terms of finances in our life?
Yeah, no, it's really important. And that's the thing that I love about the beginning of the year. I have had these ambitious plans on how throughout the year I was going to manage, for example, my receipts. I was going to stop getting paper receipts and begin to digitize all of the receipts. And if I didn't have an opportunity to, digitize it, at least pay with a credit card or something so that there's a record so that I don't have to track all these receipts. But I
Right.
failed again this past year. And so I'm like, okay, here it is, January again. How
It
can
takes
I,
discipline. It takes
oh my
different.
goodness,
Yes.
how can I personally just get the receipt, issue resolved? The,
There are apps for that. You can download an app and it will monitor everything for you. You just take a
uh,
picture and it categorize everything.
yes, so that is my assignment. So when you talk about personal things that you want to do, that is on my this year, chapter 24, must do list. So actually, I'm going to challenge myself. I want you to hold me accountable. Next week, when we come back, I want you to check in and see if I've downloaded that app because that is a must
Will
for me.
do.
But what are some other things that people should be considering in terms of their personal finances for this year? Because to me, like I say, it's a great time to reset. There still are some opportunities if it is that you need tax mitigation strategies. You know, you'll be filing your tax returns in April, and in certain types of situations, you still have opportunities to make decisions that would mitigate some of those expenses. I know, for example, things like you could, if you discovered that you had taxable income and you wanted to look at how you can repurpose some of that income. Art is a great opportunity. You know, when you purchase art, especially from a business, it is a non-taxable event. So imagine that you are able to add an asset without, as a tax mitigation strategy. Who knew? It's the same thing with real estate. You can acquire real estate and offset some of the cost of that investment as part of your tax mitigation. And I'm sure you have some other thoughts as well.
You know, there are many strategies out there that we can help divert the taxable bucket into the non-taxable buckets. And we do help, you know, our clients to plan. It's a process that we have to go through, and the planning part is very important because near retirement age, you want to get that set up in advance, or the sooner you do it, the better. You know, start planning your future and your financial goals right now. Don't wait. There is
Right.
there's no right time to do it. Why is it never like early or too late to start your retirement? Like nearly 48% of American of age 55 and older have no retirement plans or saving in their 401ks or IRAs. That's almost
What is the data again? What's the statistic?
48%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's almost half of soon to be retirees without any financial nest egg. You know,
That's, yeah,
it's
that's tragic.
it's very sad. Um, so in a time when retirement often takes decades,
Hmm.
span of decades, not years, and you know, so lack of preparedness for your retirement can place a significant financial drain on your life. Yeah,
So that means that retirement becomes an option that a lot of people can't fully exercise. So you see people working later and later into their life years because unfortunately they don't have the resources available. And you know, there's a point that you definitely would, if you, I always say that you pick things that allow you to keep an active mind, but it's great to be able to be the one deciding what those things are, right? So I don't think that I would ever not work in some capacity, but I don't want to work because I have to. I want to work on
exactly.
passion projects because I want to. Yeah.
So, for example, if you have $1 million in your 401k or IRA account right now, how long
Mhm.
does it last you for retirement? In California, it's only 13 years.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, it's very. I mean, if you want to make it last until the
And so,
end, it would take more planning than that. And you don't want to re-enter the workforce at age 75,
mm,
right? To you know to meet the financial succession at the time.
wow. So what's the profile of a typical, if you say retiree that has $1 million nest egg versus, if you will, the 48% that actually, let's go with that one first. What's the typical profile of someone that finds himself in a situation 48%, if you will, of this population without adequate planning? What types of careers might that person occupy? Let's kind of, you know, bring this into a little bit more of a personalized understanding. What would be some factors that would have contributed to that type of
Right.
outcome?
The 48% of American that don't have any retirement savings, it could be a middle income more as the middle income earners.
Mhm.
We all have expenses every day that we are, house, mortgage, finance, insurances,
Mhm.
and daily expenses, and
Mhm.
that account for a large portion of our uh, income. And if you
Mhm.
don't set aside anything at all for your retirement, you will have nothing at the end. On
Mhm.
average, people have maybe about 125,000 in their IRA or 401k by the time of age 55. And that's not much at all.
No,
Make it
no.
last. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. And then, of course, with compounding vehicles and things of that nature, you definitely need time to allow your nest egg to accumulate. So the sooner you begin, the better. I remember my grandmother saying, and it takes a lot of discipline to be able to maintain it over the course of a lifetime. But she said, start from your very first earning, the first job that you get as a teenager, you're 15, develop the practice of setting aside a portion of your earnings so that you'll always, one, keep the discipline. And as your income increases, you'll just have the discipline. It'll just be a habit that you do. So it's interesting that I have built up, and then, sometimes life circumstances, you find yourself just in a choice where you have to leverage some of the assets. And being an entrepreneur, I definitely have had to make a decision and leverage assets that, unfortunately, at sometimes, if plans don't work out as you'd hoped, then those leverage assets are compromised or lost, altogether. And I certainly can say, speak to those experiences, along the journey, things that you can see, and definitely unforeseen things, a lot of things that, hit you from a blind side. Somebody was sharing with me that they suffered a stroke, and it wasn't, expected, anticipated. And, is a stroke ever anticipated, right? And unfortunately, that changed the whole reality of that person's, wealth building or even financial stability. One medical emergency can leave many people compromised. And then the journey back in terms of recovery, and then uh, resuming some type of, income generating career, and especially if it is that you are the individual that is creating the income, meaning that if you don't work, there's no income, right? You haven't created a business.
Especially if you're the main income earners of your family. This past week I heard this heartbreaking story um, from my office. So one of the colleague, um, she at the time her husband got hit and died, hit and run event and died, and at the time she had three kids. The youngest was at 4 months old.
Mm,
And with that, I mean, she was staying at home mom at the time. And imagine the husband is the main income earner.
mm,
Now it's gone.
mhm,
How do you set up something in advance for unexpected
mhm,
events like that are happening, heartbreaking,
mhm,
that will bring financial burdens to the family, right?
mhm, mhm,
So it's those are the things that we don't think about, but it happens every day. You
mhm,
can walk out of that door and never come back to your
mhm.
family.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, that's really a big reason of why we wanted to offer this platform for women in particular, because I know along my journey, I've seen, kind of a disproportionate number of women finding themselves in a similar situation where the husband has been the primary breadwinner, or they were two working couple, but now that they're having children, one has decided to be the at-home caretaker, and the breadwinning spouse, unfortunately, is the one that ends up either deceased or with some type of medical emergency that leaves the family vulnerable. if especially if it is that they have not created plans. And then also, your options change in terms of the plans that you have available post medical emergency.
Right. You have to be flexible, and the plan that you currently have can be modified and changed based on your life's events. Because there's a lot of things happening in our life that we don't know or we don't expect. So
Mhm.
those are the kind of things that we can have a professional sit down and talk to you and modify and make the plan better based on what your needs and your goals are. Yeah.
So do you think, because I think that that's also a thing that is a misnomer, is for people that have a financial plan in place, is I think a lot of times they don't check out and reevaluate. Don't you think that's something that maybe that should be part of your annual,
It
reset,
is
evaluating all the
absolutely. I would
financial?
take a look at it. It's just like your health insurance. You go
Yeah,
check up your health every year, right? Because there's
right.
something going on that you want to make sure you are covered.
Yeah.
So is your life events, and so is your financial plan. It needs to be checked up every year,
Mhm.
just to see if you have the right tools and resources that help you maximize your financial goals.
Mhm. And I think a lot of times people forget that even when the family expands, have there been new births in your family? What are the situations
Marriage,
you need to put in place?
college,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. All of these basic life events, but in particular, because I know I had a colleague who shared with us. It was many, many moons ago, but he was talking about the importance of leveraging your family history, using the strengths in the family. And it's just saying how sometimes family members forget how they can empower their kids with things like establishing them a personal credit history. And so he shared how every time a new baby is born into their family, as soon as the Social Security card is issued for that baby, he adds them as an additional user on his credit profile.
That's a very good idea.
And
Yes.
so by the time that kid is 18, they have the highest possible credit score, which means that any purchase decisions where they're looking to use credit, debt options, they're going to be the most favored purchaser in the market. They're going to get all of the incentives,
The benefits.
and
With a good credit score, you can do a lot of things with
you
that.
can do a lot of things with that. And if you couple that with some of the business strategies that you and I advocate around using tools like insurance to create your own bank, I would say, yes, you're able to not only leverage the other debt, but also create your own debt vehicles so that you can make smart decisions between which debt. Now you have a powerful strategy. To me, to really foster, you can foster a whole generation light years ahead in terms of what their options are. So instead of, think of this, you have your children get educated in areas that they want to be educated in. But when they graduate from undergrad, they step into business ownership and they have an opportunity to grow in their understanding. They're being mentored in that ownership so that they can successfully grow and scale that organization. But they know from the beginning it's going to be well resourced. And
I think the financial literacy, starting at a young age, is very valuable for the little kids to learn about savings and how to spend the right amount of dollar, or how to navigate through finances, even just a few dollars, right? That
yeah.
is the right mindset for the kid to start out with. With our strategies here, we, set up a college planning for the
Mhm,
kids,
mhm.
leveraging compounding bank or compounding interest.
Mhm.
And over a span of decade, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you can accumulate so much more. But you have to start right now. You have to do it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
find a professional that can help you to do that.
Right, right. No, it is so important. And I think that also a lot of times, I always tease people. I said, you spend more time planning a party than you do planning your life, which is really interesting, right? Your
That
life
is true. Yeah.
plan is
Vacation.
right.
We plan summers. We spend a lot of time planning vacation as well, right?
Yes, yes, but think about your life. I'm happy to hear people planning vacations because I think that people need to spend more time on wellness.
Relaxing.
Obviously, I'm biased in that particular, but I think that we should have the perspective that life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So I want to plan for longevity. And years ago, I remember reading one of Dr. Stephen Covey's books, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he talks about, the importance of beginning with the end in mind. And I remember being, really impacted by that thought process. And I thought that that really was how I was thinking at a very early age, is how would I like to see if I was presenting. So one of the exercises that he asks is that you act as if you're at your own funeral and you're being eulogized. And so someone from your family, someone from your profession, someone from the community, is all kind of sharing about the impact that you have made, for the world, to the world. And so you're able to kind of think about what you would want those people to say, and you plan your life, in accordance to that. And I can say that that is how I've been living my life. And I see it. I see it along the journey, uh, manifesting by the things that I've, committed to, and all of those things, such as this conversation, that we are having, agreeing to have each week, to share not only our experiences, not only our successes, but also unpacking the failures. Because guess what? The best lessons learned came from what most people would categorize as a failure.
Life is an experience. We all keep failing forward, right? We learn our lessons along the way, and there are many expensive lessons in our lives, and it's okay. It's okay. We pick ourselves up and we start over again, but this time it's not from the beginning; it's from the experience.
Exactly. That's the key part, is being willing to learn from the experience. And I think that that kind of goes back, reiterates why it's so important to do an annual, I always say a quarterly check-in, right? Because
Right.
especially if you have assets allocated to the stock markets, which tend to be very vulnerable and fluctuate quite a bit, you have to think of that you can't just put it there and hold it, unless it is that you have a strategy that's sort of more of a safe. But there's different strategies depending upon where you are along the journey. And if you're not evaluating, then you don't know. So you might be running an aggressive strategy when really you should be more in a conservative or a moderate stance, based on what's happening, not only domestically, but globally. You have to understand the micro and the macro market
Right.
influences on the value of those assets. So that's why diversification is essential. It's
And
essential.
also the age, if you're younger, you can take the hit and you have some time to regain it. But as closer to retirement, you don't have that much time left. So you have to strategize for moderate to low risk. And that's, it takes discipline and planning to go into the account and take a look at where you are. So if you have a 401k or an IRA at your old jobs, and a lot of people just left there and forgot
Mm,
about it. A lot of people forgot what they had and don't even know what they had.
mm,
So those are the things that you need to take a look back and say, I left this job 5 years ago. I have a plan, but you don't
mhm,
know how much you have. Find out what you have, and we can make that plan to work better
mhm,
for you, or find a professional to help you to do that,
mhm.
because it's important to know where your finances are and keep it in check at all time. We talk about a lot about finances and all these plans, but what limiting beliefs do you think most people have about money?
Oh, that is such we're going to have a part two on that, a response to that. We could literally do an entire show behind the psychology of money, which is so interesting because I use the book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. That
Uh-huh.
was the book that finally gave me the right mindset about money and wealth and the requirements, right? And so it's why I give it to kids as early along their journey as I can cross. But here's the thing, it's all about the beliefs. And it's the same thing with our health. When you think about it, people have said, for example, if you look around to the top 5 people that you spend the most time with and you look at their net worth, then that pretty much will predict your own net worth. And don't you think it's true? Don't you
It
notice?
is true. It's absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah. Certain people well, why are the folks hanging out at the country club? Well, because they're all of a certain stature and they want to share and swap stories. And yeah, they're swapping deals. And that's how it is that they're continuing the sustainability of one another's wealth, right? So you have to put yourself in environments that allow you to stretch and gain new insight and understanding. Trust me,
Right.
we're existing in a capitalistic society. We must understand the rules of engagement of the game. That's the game we're playing. So what are the rules of engagement when you're playing this particular game? And so you have to look at, who are the other players and how are they participating in the market? And what can I glean as insight about how I might participate in these particular markets? I mean, Andrea, I know we've talked about, what are some basic steps. So I don't want to get too wordy here. So,
Is you want to set a goals that is achievable. It's challenging but achievable. So all these money tips that we want you to have is to set up something for yourself. Start small. It could be, break it down in little pieces that you can achieve. Like let's say, time, always set a timeline for your money goals, for to help you stay motivated and focus. So basically, don't say, I want to save money. You want to be more specific. And you want to make it achievable. Let's say, I want to save 3,000 for the next 12 months. Break it down each month, how much you need to save, and make it, realistic and measurable. And that way you can monitor the progress and stay motivated as each month you achieve that goal.
I love that because, one of the things that you can do, which I've done oftentimes, is set up just an automatic payment so that as your money, whatever date it is, whatever the amount it is, it just automatically is transferred from one account to a savings account, for example, that's not going to be compromised by your regular spending, so it's a separate account and just allowing those funds to build or work in the manner that they've described. Also, I've used that kind of direct payment system with insurance policies where I'm going to contribute so much to a whole life policy, for example, and setting up the automated, above the premium amount,
Right.
so that there's a building part that's being invested and grown within the policy.
Automate your saving can be very, it's very useful because if you don't see the money, you don't spend it, right? just let it go in and let it go out. And each month you'll see, if you do that as a discipline, then after a year when you check in, you'll see how much money you could potentially save, and make it down to bite size. Like let's say, every day. I know you're a coffee person, right? So do you make your own coffee?
I do. I prefer
You
to
do,
do it at
right?
home because I won't spend my money at Starbucks like that. Only
Exactly.
when I travel. Exactly. It's insane. It's like, why would I spend? I'm making them rich. No way.
Most people will go to Starbucks and have like a $5 or $10 coffee.
Yeah.
Now, instead of that, you can, prioritize what is more important for you. I know coffee is most important. I'm a tea person, so I can't say coffee is not important. But instead of $10 on a coffee, maybe $5, and cut
Right.
that $5 and save it.
Yeah.
And in a month, you have $150. With that $150, you can put it in IUL, and a cash accumulation life insurance policy, that potentially can give you a lot more protection and cash accumulation for your savings in your life, when you can take it out when you do need it. So there's a lot of small strategies and things like that we can automate our savings that help us to achieve our goals easily.
Wow, that's fantastic. They're going to have to come back next week because we're at the top of the hour. And guys, we're so happy that you joined us again. We hope you will come back and continue to join us each week. But we're going to have part 3 of this conversation next week. What do you think?
Yes, I mean, this is a topic that we want to touch base on. We may have to come back to revisit this again, but growing your personal economy is a long-term process that requires a lot of patience and discipline, and you can do it. Just follow, these little tips that it helps you to control your finances and build a more secure financial future for yourself.
Absolutely. And again, that's what we're all about. So thank you for joining us with wealthdoctors.us. Again, signing off, I'm Dr. Stephanie Ardrey.
I'm Dr. Andrea Le.
We'll see you next week. Take
Stay tuned.
care.
Thank you.